So recently I was able to hit 201 roster level, which is nice because I get this cool little bronze, icon thing on the top left. Kind of stands out because most people still have the silver. So it's cool. It's different for the eyes. Now, towards the end, when I was at 198 and I started grinding more specifically for roster XP, I had the question come up in my Twitch chat, what can I do to boost my roster XP? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. What you can do to boost your roster XP. I know some people may have started the game late. Maybe you've been getting declined in parties because your roster level is a little bit low. And that doesn't always necessarily reflect the story as far as how good a player is, but it often gives people a decent idea on how much time they've spent on the game. Therefore, how good they are. But there are some things I want to say first. Obviously, everything in this game, almost every single activity that you can do gives roster XP. Every Legion raid, cubes, boss rushes, Abyss raids, Abyss dungeons, Chaos dungeons, Guardian raids, all of that stuff gives roster XP, some more than the other. But today, I'm going to be talking about three things that are not necessarily everyday content that can give you quite a lot of roster XP. So let's go ahead and get into it. If you press Alt-L, you can see your collectibles. This is number one, collectibles. Every single one of them gives a ton of roster XP. Some of them give more than the others, but some of them there's obviously more to collect, right? You've probably collected a Makoko or two. You know that each one gives 200 roster XP. Multiply that by 1,000. That's a lot of roster XP. Ignia tokens. Every Ignia token gives like 50k. I don't know how much all of the World Tree Leaves, Sea Bounties, Masterpieces, Omniums, Giants, or Island Souls give. I think Island Souls are like 2k-ish. But every time you obtain one, you get a lot of XP. Another thing that sometimes coincides with collectibles is achievements. A lot of times there are achievements for defeating certain bosses on islands or collecting something a certain amount of times, or even stuff like chaos gates, all that type of content. Achievements, some of them give a good amount of roster XP as well. Ignia tokens, if you don't know, are linked to the adventure tome. So every time you get up to these little 10% increments, this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, etc., etc. All of those I'm pretty sure give roster XP as well. And in order to get to 100% in a continent, you also need to do Rapport. And that's going to be basically our second or third thing, if you count the achievements, is Rapport. Rapport gives a ton of roster XP. Some of the people, when you get them up to friendly or to trusted, give like 20k, 15k. And obviously over time, when you do that more and more, that's going to start adding up. There's not going to be one thing in this game that you can do that's going to get you from 1 to 100 or from 100 to 200. It's going to take a while. So the point is to look at these little areas where you can get a good chunk of XP and then just keep doing things similar to that to let that start stacking up. I already made a video a while ago. I hope it's still okay. It's been a bit, but I do have a video on Rapport. If you're unfamiliar with it, I'll put it like on the top right of the screen or something like that, one of those little cards. I'll also put a link to it in the description. Also, while we're quickly on the topic of adventure tomes, if you're struggling to finish up your adventure tomes, I highly recommend Mr. Vool's channel. I've mentioned him in the past, but he has videos on all the continents and how to get them to 100%. There's usually timestamps in the description, or people that comment on the video with timestamps for every single category: monsters, collectibles, cooking, vistas, dungeons, bosses, another stories, hidden stories, all that stuff. So if you want to work on your adventure tome, I highly recommend checking him out. Now, another thing that I'm sure most people know about, but maybe you don't, is the tower. I just went ahead and went through the tower on some of my other characters that I hadn't done it on to get some roster XP. When I was at 198, I started hard focusing on roster XP. So I did the tower on 3 characters. I did tier 1 and tier 2 tower since I hadn't finished them before. And then I also did something else that I'm going to explain after to get some roster XP. Every floor gives upwards towards 2,000 roster XP. Some of the earlier floors give 1,700. Some of the later floors give around 2,600. So figure it averages out to like 2,100 roster XP per floor. There's 50 floors and it's individual per character. So you can do this if you have 12 characters, you can do it on all your characters. If you have 6 characters, you can do it on all your characters, and you can stock up quite a bit of roster XP, especially if you're in tier 3 or 1370 plus already. Going back and doing it will make it much easier. The last major thing I want to bring up is questing. A lot of people are just going to power pass, knowledge transfer, stuff like that, which I can't blame you. I've used all my knowledge transfers. I've used all the power passes that they've given us. So I get it. Questing is boring. I dislike it too. But if you're looking for roster XP, or if you feel like you're lacking, that might be a department that you need to check on again. When I was going for 201 roster level, after I had gotten up to 200, I went from 198 roster to 200 off of just the tower on multiple characters. After that, I went and did South Vern on my Glavier. Every single quest in South Vern, main story wise, those main story blue quests gave 4,000 roster XP. For the side quests that you pick up along the way, they give around 1,700, I think. So I didn't even have to finish all of South Vern. I'm pretty close, but I didn't completely finish South Vern, and I was able to go from 200 to 201. It gives a ton of XP. I think in total you probably get upwards towards 200k roster XP just from South Vern alone. I don't know all the roster XP per quest values on the other continents. If you know of a place that has them, you know, feel free to put it in the comments or something, or let people know. But yeah, questing gives a ton of roster XP. Your roster level is a good representation of how much you play the game, how many hours you've put in, and how much you have done overall in Lost Ark. It's not something that's meant to just go from 1 to 60 in one sitting. It's gonna take a while. The point of this video wasn't to tell you how to cheat the system. It was more so just to share some of the things that you could do, or that I have done, in order to increase it up to this point. Anyways, I hope I was able to provide some helpful information. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below or in my Twitch chat, twitch.tv/Hyga. The link will be in the description. I am live almost all the time. Until next time, though, it's been your boy Hyga. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Peace.